Really, there's two pieces to trust. There's character, and that's the person that you are, and then there's competence. Can you might be a great person, but can you do what I'm asking you to do? And are you the right person for that?
I'm Chika Eloy, and this is a conversation designed for BCD people with BCD people. On this show, we're running through the diverse cultures of talent at BCD Travel, and we're showcasing our most confident self-colleagues. So come on, let's go have some fun as we explore the different functions, spaces, faces, and the complexities across our world of BCD.
Rev your engines, ladies and gentlemen, because we have one Harley of a man coming at us today, all the way from Ohio, Mr. Juan Perez, Vice President of Sales Enablement. Sales Enablement, right?
That's correct. Sales enablement, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So
please go ahead.
So sales enablement, the purpose is really to help our company achieve its goals. And if you ask Mike or John or Case or anyone within your leadership organization, what are the goals for BCD Travel? Growth is going to be at the top of them for sure. And if you think about how we can grow in sales enablement, that is really driven by selling new business. So my focus is to really help our sales team go out and win new business for BCD Travel. What that does is help BCD achieve a second goal, which is our earnings. Last goal we had was the road to 150.
Yes.
And happy that last year we were able to exceed that goal. Not sure, at this point, what the new goal is, if it's 160, 180, 200, but new sales and what we call organic sales is going to help drive that revenue. And then the third thing is really to keep your best people and invest in your people. So really, when I look at sales enablement, it's to help the company grow, achieve earnings, and keep our best people. And the way we do that is by investing in people, and that means training and helping them. It also means looking at the process that they follow in sales and making sure that the process actually supports the salesperson winning new business versus getting in the way. And the third thing is the technology, whether it's social media or some of the internal tools that we use here at Chika, Salesforce, Post Beyond, BCD Buzz, Move, Inner Circle, whatever that is. All of that technology has to support the sales. So it's really investing in people, investing in the processes, and then looking at the technology and making sure all of that helps the salespeople so that we can help the company grow, earn revenues, and keep our best people.
Keep talent. So thank you for being here today, Juan. That's a really good high-level overview. And I know if we come up a little higher, we as a company, we've shifted a little in the last 6 to 12 months with Jorge Cruz and Mike taking on commercial. Is a commercial officer now, and sales is a big part of Jorge's new focus. Maybe you can speak from your perspective as to why that's come together and where you fit into that process.
So to have a global EVP leader of both sales and marketing, and if you look at those functions, all those support the sales process and again, helping BCD grow. So having that all fit into one leadership position enables us to achieve what Jorge likes to refer to as one team, one goal. And what we're doing in sales enablement to support that is making sure that we're working with the regions to do things consistently. So whether it be onboarding new employees or understanding how to prepare for presentations so that you can win, using the standard best and final presentation that I worked with very closely with Andy Menkes to not only develop it but deliver it. All of those things have allow us to work together and to sell from a global perspective, specifically with global clients, and making sure that we're working as one team, all achieving the one goal that we had talked about earlier on the call.
Sure. And I know that offline you and I have spoken a lot about a topic called trust. Juan, I was wondering whether you could weave that into this too, because a lot of our listeners aren't in the sales team or aren't in the marketing team, but could use some of the twists and turns that you've spoken to me about that topic.
Right. So when you're talking about trust, I guess I'd like to talk about it in two ways. First of all, there's an economic value associated with trust. And the math behind it is that when people trust each other, then people feel confident enough to make decisions. And when decisions get made faster, the profitability of a company goes up. When people don't work in an environment where they feel that there's trust, then they're hesitant to make decisions, and therefore that slows down the process. And you know that when you slow down things, it costs more, and therefore the profitability goes down. So that's the one part. There's an economic factor to the speed of trust. The other part is it helps identify the culture at BCD Travel. And if you think about what is culture, if I gave you the definition of it, it's the accumulated, meaning everybody's involved, sustained, they're doing it all the time, and we're using reinforced learning, knowledge, experience to make decisions and actions as individuals as a part of a bigger group at BCD Travel. And when you have that culture, it's a culture where people feel like they can trust each other and therefore get things done a lot faster and even become innovative, where that all helps BCD achieve its earnings goals, its growth goals, and keeping our best people.
So if I'm a manager on this call right now, and I'm thinking about my team, because again, I'm just in my function, and if I look across the landscape of my team, whether I have direct reports or not, maybe I've got a team of 10, maybe it's 50, how would you suggest that I could potentially almost audit the trust in my team to lead towards what you just mentioned, as in scaling that into a high-performing team?
Well, for the listeners, I'd like you to do this. Take out a sheet of paper and draw a line down the middle. And on the left side of the paper, write down the names of the people, leadership, departments, and individuals that you trust. That way you know who you feel you trust and are going to do the right thing on behalf of BCD Travel and yourself. Then on the other side of the sheet, write down the names of the people that you feel trust you. So there what you have on one side is people you trust, and on the other side, people that trust you. And see if those two lists match, and see if there's anybody who's not on that list, because there is a way that you can start to earn trust and build trust within the organization. So I think whether you're looking at direct reports or other departments that you work with, go ahead and do that exercise and write down the folks that you trust, and write down the folks that you think that trust you, and then work on the folks that are missing from that list.
I was going to say, is there a third section to that, which are those that you do not trust and those that do not trust you, and that may help narrow it down? Or I'm also interested, maybe you and I can create some on this call here, Juan, because we haven't spoken about this. What do people do, or what are behaviors that people exhibit that cause distrust? I'm thinking for myself, for instance, if I've reached out to you and you don't follow through with something that you said you would, therefore that would kind of lean me towards, well, I don't know whether I can trust you can follow through with that in the future.
That's a great example, Chica. There are 5 what we call waves of trust. There's trust in yourself, trust in relationships that you have with other people that you work with, trust in the organization, and that's BCD as a whole. There's a trust in the market that we work in, the industry, and then there's a trust in society as well. I think, there's an old saying, when it comes to building trust, the best time to do it was 20 years ago. The second best time to do it is right now. So if you put the
what does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, there's an old Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Okay.
That way the tree would have been fully grown. But if you didn't plant that tree 20 years ago, the second best time to do it is today.
Yeah, very good.
So if you don't have trust, or you need to build trust, the best time to do it was a long time ago. But the second best time to do it is to start right away. And the way you do that is try to put the needs of others first. Help your colleagues achieve their goals. And when you need their help, you don't even have to ask. They'll come and they'll help you achieve your goals. So I think one of the best ways to do that is to look at what your purpose is and to try to put the needs of others first. One of the areas I find, Chica, is that when there isn't trust is because people have personal agendas. Let me put my needs before your needs, Chica. And then when I need some help, all I did was, use people to get done what I need to get done. But when you have trust and you're putting the needs of others first, and you don't have any hidden agendas, and you're following through on your commitment, and you're practicing actually good values, reliability, honesty, loyalty, stewardship, those type of things will help you build trust.
You know, I read an interesting article, probably, I think it was at the end of last year, Juan, and remember back in the early 90s, there was all of those big kind of team building exercise vendors that would be out there where you'd go out onto a ropes course and you would almost physically sometimes do something called a trust fall.
Exactly.
And there's actually data now that says that those kind of physical trust activities does not build trust in an actual team if you're working together day to day corporately. What is your assumption as to why that is?
Well, I think that trust is something that's it goes beyond that. So yeah, the exercise maybe for that particular team that you worked on, and that person who was going to catch you when you were going to fall was good for that particular example. But moving forward, really, there's two pieces to trust. There's character, and that's the person that you are, and then there's competence. Can you might be a great person, but can you do what I'm asking you to do? And are you the right person for that? The character part of it is really falls in integrity. Would I do the right thing when no one's looking? And do I have the right intent? Meaning, am I here to help you accomplish your goals and your needs as a part of the way that I am as a person? The next part of it, the competence, really falls into the capabilities. Because, Chick, I might like you as a person, and you might be the best honest person, but if you can't do the job that I'm asking you to do, I'm better off knowing you on a social, not a business relationship. So, do you have the capabilities to get done what you need to get done, and can you deliver the results? So, if I use that in an example as a salesperson, I could have a salesperson who's a person of integrity and has the right intent, but they've got to be able to know how to do discovery, how to sell, how to meet the needs of clients, and then they have to deliver results to BCD Travel, because we talked about achieving our sales goal of $1.4 billion this year. You've got to be able to deliver that to the organization so that the company can grow and achieve its earnings.
Man, you just opened a whole box. When you said integrity and character, you opened a whole box for me there. So I think down to a micro level of an individual that maybe a lower level at BCD and may have a lot of layers between him and his executive leader. How do you feel that I can make a difference in that situation? Let's pretend that my competence is off. What would you recommend?
Well, one of the ways to increase your integrity and your confidence is, first of all, when you make promises or commitments, make them to yourself. And keep them, because there's no higher standard than you're going to be able to achieve to is the confidence in yourself and the commitments that you make to yourself. And then stand for something. It's one thing to be on the sideline, but it's one thing to say, you know what, I believe in this, and I'll stand up for it, and be open. I think that's another way that you'll be able to increase your integrity. If I looked at one of the sayings that Gandhi had, he said, to believe in something and not live it is dishonest. So again, make commitments to yourself. Whatever that commitment is, stand up for it and be open. You got to have the courage to understand if you make a mistake, and you have to have the strength to change. So I love that. That's the way.
I love that you brought Gandhi onto this podcast. It's an awesome one. So a flip of that, let's pretend that I'm a manager right now and I have people that report to me. And I know and I really, really, really like them because they do have a great character. They do have great confidence and integrity, but it's their competence that's lacking. How would you navigate those waters?
Well, I believe competence comes with doing, practicing, and helping someone get better by showing them a new way. So if I have someone who's failing, sometimes it means, Chica, that you help them find what they're really, really good at. Because not everybody, I'll give you an example, not everybody is client facing. You might be a great accountant, but you really struggle in client meetings. So you have to, at least baseline, the certain competence or capabilities that you have. But I just believe that the more people do, the more people practice, and then giving them honest feedback, and actually allowing those people to see others do it, they'll be able to look at the way another person has done it, incorporate it into what they do. I think it's the best way to increase competence and to be able to have someone says, yes, I'm capable of doing this, so that they can deliver, so that they can deliver results. So, help those folks by using a mistake that they may have made as a stepping stone toward learning how to do it right. Someone once told me, I've never made a mistake, and I told him, well, then you've never learned anything. Because I'm always doing stuff I don't know how to do in order to learn how to do them, and I can guarantee you I'm going to make mistakes along the way. But if I take that and I use it as a stepping stone toward learning, it'll help my capabilities and my competence.
That's really insightful stuff there, Juan. And I'm now thinking global. Okay, so I've heard, in certain cultures, we do business after we build relationship, which I think speaks to trust. I've heard in other certain cultures, we're very direct because that's how we do business. Talk to me about your experience with that and how culturally there's a trust kind of layer as well as when we're doing business together.
Okay, so with that, I believe that what customers eventually buy from BCD Travel, and don't get me wrong, we have a lot of great products and services, but what people buy is trust and honesty. Trust that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And
isn't that being honest, though?
Well, again, that's the same thing. It's about
Okay.
being honest.
Okay.
I believe that you are going to be able to do it. So, again, if you think about the two words that I used before, one was integrity. We need to prove to our customers that BCD is going to do the right thing for you, whether you're looking or not. And you got to understand that BCD is going to have your intent or the right intent at the forefront, meaning that we don't have a hidden agenda. I'm here to help you as a customer. And then once I can prove that integrity and intent, you'll be a customer of mine for a long, long time. So regardless of where you're selling, and regardless of whether our products and services are available in every market and in every language and fits into the global approach, what customers actually end up buying is honesty and truth in a company. And I think by having that trust be a part of that and being able to make decisions on behalf of a customer and what's best for them shows that, and that's why customers do business with us.
So let me give you another slant, because I'm really valuing what you're sharing here, Juan. I've heard here at BCD, certain people are tied to certain roles, and therefore, people circle up around them. I mean, you think of some of the bigger personalities we have and the scopes of work that they do. If they were to be pulled from that role tomorrow, potentially the house of cards would come falling down. As a leader, or as an up-and-coming leader, what advice would you give to somebody that is trying to build a scope of work, or trying to build a product, or trying to be the best salesperson that they can be? How do they do that without creating such a moat that if they were to be removed from that role of work, the house of cards come down?
Well, that's an interesting conversation to have, because when I'm looking at a team, right, or you're in charge of a team or you're leading a team, again, you have to have trust in your people, and it all starts with listening to them and understanding what their role is. And I think it's important to also try to build in, I don't want to say the word is repetition, but redundancies. I think the best managers take what they know and try to instill it. What they have, Chicka, is a backup plan. When someone either is removed from a role or leaves, they don't want their plan to be, what do I do now? So they have to be able to be to lead others and give them roles of responsibility and actually share the capabilities that you have with them. See, there's another quote that I like. It's actually from one of our former presidents, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. As a leader, what he said, it's a terrible thing to look over your shoulder when you're trying to lead and no one is there.
Right.
So you have to incorporate and assimilate your people into what you're doing, make them a part of that, give them the authority and trust that they need to make decisions, so that if something happens, let's say you or I were to win the lottery, there's a backup plan so that the company can continue to thrive moving forward.
Are you saying that if you won the lottery tomorrow, you would leave your role at BCD Travel?
I make sure I call you up first
Yeah,
and give
yeah.
you your cut. But yeah, I will probably retire.
Juan, that's awesome. Is there anything else that we can do as an organization to help support you and your sales teams around the world?
Absolutely. If you have a success with a client, and it really doesn't matter whether the success is in a product or service or a savings or doing something, in sales, we like to use stories when we sell. So if I go to a client and say, in the area where you're talking to your travelers, or what we call traveler engagement, if you do that, you're able to save somewhere between 4 and 8% of your total T&E. The best example I could give you would be, and then for me to actually tell a story of a client, and it doesn't necessarily have to be my story. It could be a story from a project manager or from one of our commercial leaders, or it could even be a customer service example from one of our frontline agents. Those stories allow us to show to a client why they want to do business with BCD Travel. I mean, it's great that we have wonderful products and services, but we're not here to talk about what they do and how they work. I'm here to tell you about why you need them, because your travel program is all about your travelers. And the more you make your travelers a part of your program and the direction, the better you'll be able to do. So if you have a success story, please share that with the marketing team, and specifically, it's really the marketing team. We have success stories in Salesforce, but the more success stories that you have that you can share with us, the better that helps sales be able to win new business.
A question that I got last week that I didn't know how to answer, one final question before we move into our speed round. What comes first, marketing or sales at BCD Travel?
Oh, relationships come first. Marketing and sales are a part of that. So as you're establishing trust and building relationships with folks, you've got to be able to talk about them. So when we are in sales, we make the entire conversation about what you do, what you'll have, what you'll be able to do. So again, it's almost like putting the needs of others first. You do that internally, but you also do that with the customer. From there, you'll get marketing and sales to happen automatically. If you do a good enough job, you don't even have to sell. People will talk themselves into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Juan, and thank you for your insights on trust. A really insightful conversation today. Are you ready for the final 5 questions for you that we're going to wrap up this episode with?
Absolutely.
Great. Question number 1. How many magnets are on your fridge in your kitchen?
Oh, magnets, there's probably, with all the coupons and stuff from the kids, I'll tell you, there's probably 15.
All right, very good. Question number 2. Favorite thing for you to suggest we do when we visit Ohio?
Favorite thing to do when you visit Ohio is go, if you're coming to Cleveland, go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you're going to Akron, Canton, if you like sports, there's the Football Hall of Fame. There's a lot of, Ohio's very well known for avionics and aviation. The Wright brothers were from Dayton, Ohio. John Glenn was the first guy to circle the orbit. Neil Armstrong was the first man to land on the moon. All those folks were from Ohio. So if you get a chance to, there's a wonderful space museum in Dayton as well at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
You know what's really disgusting about that is you just took away my third question, which was yesterday on YouTube Live. I watched the Arab Communications launch of their new satellite into space. My question to you, to question number 3, Juan, was if you were given the opportunity to fly into space, given today's technology, would you take it?
I certainly would. It's something that, this isn't my practice life. It's something that I've never done before. I'm not going to get a chance to come back and do it in my next life. So if I had a chance to do it, I'd do it.
Good. And in the area of trust, do you prefer people to be politically correct or incorrect?
I prefer people to be honest. If you're wrong, then say you're wrong. If you're right, then stand up for something. So I think being politically correct is something that, to me, well, let me say it a different way. I just think being honest is being on the side of being, I don't know, it's almost being transparent, right?
Good.
I have nothing to hide. My life's too complicated, not to be honest. Actually, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said because
Thank
it's
you.
the truth.
Thank you.
So, I think, there's something to be said for both of those, but I think being honest is the best thing to do.
And final question, Juan, thank you again for your time today. I know that, firstly, how long have you been at BCD? And then what is the reason you have stayed on for as long as you have?
I'll give you the reason first. The reason that I've stayed on is because of the people. People like you, Chika, and other folks that I've worked with through the many years that I've been with BCD Travel. I started in operations back in 1982. So this October 4th, it'll be my 37th anniversary with BCD Travel. And I had an opportunity to work in operations, in training, in account management, and now working with the sales team. And I think by always putting the needs of others first, it's kind of my purpose, my compass. If I help people achieve the goals, they're happy, the company is able to achieve its goals. If I need something, they're willing to help me. So the reason that I've stayed the 37 years at BCD Travel is because of the people.
Gosh, thank you for being such an upstanding role model for all of us, Juan. And again, thank you for joining today.
My pleasure.
And what a whole lot to cram into one episode, man. I think that Juan should open up his own Amazon Proverbs book because he has quotes coming out of him like I've never heard before. So thank you, Juan. And he gave us also one standard activity that we could do to really narrow down the trust versus people that trust us. So I encourage all of our listeners to bust out a piece of paper here in the next 24 hours and see if you can do that. Do that with your family, do that with your friends, and do it with the colleagues that you work with in your team to continue to increase your capacities around trust that will ultimately lead to advantages in your work. Thanks again for joining us this week. We look forward to hearing more next week on A World of BCD.